Quick shout out, guys, to our sponsors, Anglesey Family Chiropractic. They're in Coeur d'Alene. They're in Spokane Valley. Dr. Craig Anglesey, I've known this dude for 30 plus years. He's an amazing family man. Awesome chiropractor, will get you feeling great. Go check him out. Hey, I also want to give a shout out to the Threads podcast, Life Unfiltered. Look, listening to this show is like sitting around a campfire with your best friends. The talk is real, the humor is natural, and personal growth is sparked by authenticity. Go check them out. Threads podcast, Life Unfiltered.
You're the founder of Elite Amateur Fight League. Thank you so much, Jesse, for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Happy to be here, brother.
Dude, before we get into the Elite Amateur Fight League, let's talk about you, man. Where'd you grow up, and did you always want to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, I grew up in South Chicago.
Okay.
But I wanted to be a football player, man.
Gotcha. Yeah, right. Totally.
I went to Mount Carmel High School. I have teammates that made the NFL. Donovan McNabb, Simeon Rice are all my teammates from high school.
Okay.
But towards the end of my high school career, I had an injury with my shoulder, and it really jacked up my senior year. And so all the opportunities I had, my senior year were kind of blown away by a shoulder injury. So one of the things I knew I kind of always had interest in and always wanted to do was to be a Marine.
Okay.
And so when the football thing kind of fell apart, I decided to join the Marine Corps, and loved every minute of it, man.
Well, thank you for your service, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I love talking to these up-and-coming fighters that are really from around the globe, and that you being the founder of Elite Amateur Fight League. For those not familiar with the Elite Amateur Fight League, tell me about how it all got started and what exactly is the EAFL? Absolutely.
So, going back to the Marine Corps days, I grew up boxing in South Chicago as well, boxed in the Marine Corps for a little bit. And when I got out, I became an electrician, and I really got into the sport of MMA a little backwards. Okay. And the league started with a pretty interesting story. So as a union electrician during the building boom, I left the union, started my own company where we decided to design and install high-end electronics.
Okay.
That opportunity spun into an opportunity where we were designing and building man caves.
Okay, nice.
That opportunity spun into an opportunity where I can shoot and produce a home improvement show called The Man Card Crew, where we built and designed man caves on television.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I got into the TV end of it, but I've always been a huge combat sports fan.
Yeah.
And so we were running the Man Card Crew for about 4 years, building and designing man caves throughout the Chicagoland area on NBC Sports Chicago. Had an opportunity to preview an MMA show for them, and it was utterly horrible. Like it was bad. I'm like, we know you're a fan. What did you think? And listen, the fights were good, but the show was horrible. Production value was horrible. Didn't make any sense. And had an opportunity to concept the show and possibly get it on NBC Sports Chicago. Okay. So what we did is we designed a show called Fighter First, and Fighter First was going out and finding the up-and-coming fighters in the regional circuit in the Midwest, meeting them, interviewing them, showing highlights of their fights. And we would go out to Omaha, and the promoter would say, "Hey, man, my 145-pounder, best in the country, 10-0. This is the guy he's going to go pro, going to the UFC." Awesome. Great show. Thought I had gold. Then we go to Milwaukee. "Hey, my 145-pounder, 7-0. This is the guy, best ever, going to the UFC." Okay. Same exact show. Go down to Indianapolis. "My 145er, best ever." I'm like, oh my God, this is the same story over and over again. Like, yeah, these guys are uber talented, and they're all 8-0, 9-1, whatever they are. And they go out and they blow the doors off, in 30 seconds, they annihilate their guy. But I can't put this on TV because it's redundant. It's over and over again. Yeah. And so when we took that concept back, and I was 100% honest with them, listen, the first show, you're going to love it. Second show is going to be, third show's boring. Fourth show, you'll never watch again because it's the same story over and over again.
Yeah.
And he goes, "I get it. Well, what can you do with it? Why don't you figure out what you can do with what you found?" So we took it back, and I started thinking, man, what if I can get these guys to fight each other? Like, what if the 9-0 guy from Omaha could fight the 9-0 guy from Indianapolis? And let's shorten the story a little bit. It could absolutely happen if you could agree to do it at the home of every one of these promoters. The promoters want to bring it to their, I love that idea. Bring them to my promotion. Has to happen here. Then you call the Omaha guy. "Yeah, awesome idea. Bring it here. It has to happen to my promotion." So the promoters didn't want to see their champions go across borders or leave their organization. And so from a professional standpoint, some of the fighters were even, hey, I'm 9-0. I don't want to blemish my pro record. I'm trying to get to the UFC. And I completely understand that on the pro end. Like, you need to have a really lofty, impressive record as a pro to get into the UFC. And it might not be a good idea to challenge yourself and take a couple losses where you might not get there, right? But on the amateur level, these same guys, their amateur records go away the day they turn pro. And it's more about experience and exposure than anything for the amateur side of the game. So when we were talking to the amateur coaches and fighters, they were up for it. They're like, man, you're going to pay for my guy to go to Omaha and pay for the weekend, and he's going to fight a competitor, and I'm going to get a good fight for him because I only have 30-second fights here in Indianapolis. That would be awesome. Let's do it. And of course, it ended up just coming down to the promoters didn't want to see their guys leave.
Right.
They weren't willing to pay for them to come over, from long distances, and it wasn't going to happen. So then I thought, well, maybe I'm doing this the wrong way. Maybe there's somebody out there doing this. Let's find that promotion that's already doing this. Why are we trying to recreate this?
Right.
And the fact is there's nobody out there doing this. There's nobody out there matching top-level amateurs from across the country, giving them exposure and experience on an NCAA type of level. And at that moment, driving home from Omaha, I had a decision to make. Like, are you going to let this opportunity go, or are you going to do something about it? Like, why not just create what you're looking for?
Right.
And so on the way home, 5 hours of just thinking about it. By the time I got home, I had a concept built. I knew what I was going to do. It's going to be team versus team, state versus state, national amateur competition. No one else in the country is doing it, and the Elite Amateur Fight League was born.
Come on. That's awesome. You have 12 teams from coast to coast. What's the format of the fights, and how do the teams work?
Yeah, so this year we had 8 teams last year. We're going into this season with 12 teams.
Okay.
We have about 18 legitimate applications for teams, so we got more teams applying than we have room for, which is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
So it's team versus team, meaning if you're familiar with a wrestling duel from high school or college, right?
Okay.
Everybody still gets an independent record. They still get a win or loss on their record. It's still judged the same way, the way a normal MMA fight would be judged. But the team aspect of it, a team has team points with the value of every win. So if you get a finish, your team gets 6 points. You get a unanimous decision, your team gets 4 points. You get a split, your team gets 3 points. The team with the most points moves on in the tournament. And the teams are built out of weight classes. So 25, 35, we have a catch weight at 40, 45, 55, 70, and 85. And then we try to throw females in there where we can between 115 and 125. And so it's real simple, man. It's a MMA duel, team versus team, state versus state. And the best MMA competitors in the country head to head.
Come on, man. And this isn't something new. Like you said, this is season 4 that you're heading into. This was supposed to happen this year. Obviously, a little bit of a delay there. But any plans to move forward with season 4 this year?
Yeah, so the coronavirus threw a wrench in everybody's plan, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Even the big guys, your NFLs, your NBAs, they're suffering like we are. Its immediate effect, first of all, the pandemic's horrible. Like, I don't want to underline that. It's a horrible thing that's happening. Prayers to everybody who's lost somebody or has been affected by the pandemic. Sports, when you look at it, for me, isn't a necessary thing to get through this pandemic. I'm in the sports world. I own a sports industry company. Yes, I want to see it go on, but the most important thing is to do it safely and to do it right and make sure that society is taken care of, right?
Right.
So with that being said, immediately it affected us, negatively. We had to cancel 3 of our events already. We were building teams in Illinois and Tennessee and Kentucky. And, the Kentucky and Tennessee were new teams coming in, so it would have been great to see what their talent looked like and really fine-tune those teams. But after that immediate negative effect and us swallowing the pill, hey, listen, we're not going to have fans in attendance anytime soon. We're not going to have shows anytime soon. Let's start to generate a post-coronavirus type of plan. Yeah. Once we got to that point, everything became very positive. Mm-hmm. We were able to push the season back. We were supposed to start in March. We're probably not going to start until 4th quarter of this year.
Okay.
We're slowly building the teams. We're not just rushing teams into the league. We're making sure we have the right teams with the right coaches. They got to get back in the gym and get their stamina back up and get in fight shape. And so it's going to be a while for them to get ready. Not every state's the same. Some states' gyms are open. Some states' gyms aren't.
Right.
So, this year 12 teams, and we're super excited about doing what we're doing. And in the post-corona world, we've changed our format. We were going to do 6 independent events and 6 independent states with the home team, and that would have took us a considerable amount of time. I mean, realistically probably 6 months to get through round 1.
Right.
And knowing that we can't really do that now, we've shifted into more of a studio show. So we're going to film it more like the Ultimate Fighter gets filmed. We're going to bring everybody to one place. We're going to film all 6 events in the span of a weekend. All the fighters and coaches are going to get to meet each other and hang out, kind of like the NCAA tournament does in round number 1. And it's gonna bring all those guys together and really give you that NCAA tournament feel. And we're really excited about that. And so we're bringing everybody to one location. That location is undetermined at this point. Gotcha. Recording it over the scope of a weekend, and then we're going to be able to send it out to broadcasters so they can run it in concurrent weeks, week 1 through 6, and then we can start the second round of the tournament within 6 weeks. So schedule-wise, it's a great thing. Logistic-wise, it's a great thing. Broadcast-wise, couldn't be better. I get everybody in one place, get all my interviews knocked out, get all the content wrapped up. Like, all those things are positive things, and we probably wouldn't have done it without the coronavirus pandemic. Yeah. But it shifted us, and we're really happy with the new plan. So our plan is to have 4 rounds. Rounds 1, 12 teams. Round 2, 6 teams. The final 4 will be 4 teams. And we're hoping that the national championship, by the time we get there, is an event we can put on live.
Yeah, man, that would be awesome. For states like Idaho who don't actually have teams yet, how would states get involved and work with you to create a team?
Sure. EliteAmateurFightLeague.com or EAFLMMA.com. We have an application form there, and we're probably getting 10 to 12 applications a day from fighters, not as many coaches, but they can absolutely apply, get us in contact with us. My director of league expansion is very aggressive. If put it this way, you put a guy, an application comes in and he's ain't no out of any state in this country, he's going to pick up the phone and call him and call his coach, because we want to get those guys in our league. Yeah. And we're really the only ones that are going to offer them an opportunity to get on an airplane, travel somewhere, all expenses paid for logistics and for them to do that, and not charge them any fees. We're not charging anybody fees to be part of our organization like some other organizations do. We're aggressively looking for the best talent in the country. You send us an application and you're one of those guys, we are absolutely going to call you back.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what type of fighters are you actually looking for?
Yeah, well, we're looking obviously for young talent. 18, our limit this year is going to be 28 years of age. We're trying to make the cutoff right at about there. We're looking for guys that have at least 3 fights, hopefully, 3 wins. We know in some states that 3 or 4 amateur fights and they're done with their amateur career. They're going pro. And in other states, it seems like the Midwest, man, they've got 12, 15, 16 amateur fights under their belt. Yeah. So the problem is it's a little bit of a problem when it comes to sanctioning and matching the fight. If you go to a state and then the commissioner says, man, you can't match this 3-0 guy versus this 14-1 guy, right? And I have to, well, I get it, but he trains at Jackson Wink with Holly Holm and John Jones, and he's 3-0. He's going to go pro after this run. Like he'll never be a 14-1 amateur guy. This is a guy that's going to go pro. He has the talent. He's in the right scenario. Yeah. And you've just got to, explain that to them. And some of these guys are lifelong wrestlers. Some of them are lifelong, Jiu Jitsu practitioners. And granted, their MMA record doesn't show that. You've just got to bring in the right information to the commissioner so that they feel comfortable matching those fights. We have local events in some of the places where we're looking for up and comings, getting these guys started, getting their career started. But the tournament events, we're absolutely looking for established fighters.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, I love that you guys have this very unique, amazing opportunity that people can actually invest in your league. You have a WeFunder page, man, you've raised close to $60,000, man. This is amazing. Yeah. Why was it so important for you to open that up to the public? And what's the goal amount on that? Or is there even a goal?
Yeah, well, we're looking to raise 10% of our business. We had an independent valuation of the company that put us at $5 million. So we're raising $500,000 in this first round. The reason it was so important for me, I come from South Chicago, man. I'm a son of a steel mill worker. my dad loves sports. He never had an opportunity to invest into a sports franchise, right?
Yeah.
The sports are well established. Football's been around for 100 years. You
Yeah.
can't, unless you're an elitist, you're not getting approved to own a football team or buy into a franchise, right?
Right.
MMA is 25 years old. It's still very young in its growth and where they are as a sport. In my eyes, they've really become a mainstream sport. You know, when that sale went down and when they sold over the company for $4 billion, that's when everybody's eyes opened up and it became a real mainstream sport.
Right.
And they're doing a fantastic job on the pro end over at the UFC. We know what they're worth. We love their shows. They do great things. But the sport in its entirety is really young, and no one developed the amateur side of the sport. It'd be like having the NFL without the NCAA. You know, without having the NCAA basketball tournament, how does the NBA know who the stars are going to be and how to draft people?
Yep.
And so the sport wasn't fully developed. And that, in my eyes, it really opened up my eyes thinking, here's an opportunity for fans to help us develop this league, become owners, and own a piece of a sport they love. That doesn't happen in any other sport in this country. We're literally the first fan-owned sports league in America, and fans have an opportunity to buy in.
Man, it's such a great opportunity. I highly recommend folks go and check that out. Man, I wanted to shift to some fun questions here real quick for us, Jesse. I've got these things are called pod decks. Essentially, they're just random questions for us podcasters pulling out here, and we'll see how it goes, man. Let's see what this one says. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Chicago deep dish pizza.
Love it, man. That is awesome. I've been
without
to
a thought. Without a thought, that you're boom right there.
I've been to Chicago twice. Love the pizza there. It is absolutely amazing. When you're not working on the EAFL stuff, what are you doing for fun, man?
Oh man, I really do this full time. Like I love what I do. This is what I do for fun.
Yeah.
You know, I'm too old to really get out and play any competitive football or basketball. I try to golf. I suck at it.
Okay.
But I go out to drink and drive a little cart around. I'm not out there to golf.
Right.
So, you know, that's leisurely things, but I love what I do. So I would tell you what I do for fun is develop this league.
Yeah.
What more could I ask for, man? I work with world-class athletes, world-class fighters, great people, go to exciting events constantly around the country. You know, this is fun. This is what I do for fun, and I love it.
Man, awesome. And then wanted to ask, do you have a favorite fighter? I mean, obviously you've been in the game around for a long time, but is there some fighter that has stuck out with you, has kind of been a favorite over the years?
Well, I guess my favorite fighter, and it's more of a business thing, I think. I don't think he's the best fighter or, you know, is the most talented fighter. I love the way Conor McGregor generates revenue around what he does. And it's that simple. The guy's a genius. Nobody with any brain for combat sports thought he was going to beat Floyd Mayweather. No one believed that. And I'm a boxer. I love boxing. I knew my boxing coach would tell me when these thugs come in off the street and challenge everybody to a fight, because it happens all the time in Chicago. A gangbanger comes in and says, "Oh, I can beat everybody's ass in here. You know, let me in." And my coach would tell me, "Hey, let him punch himself off for 30 seconds and then have your way with him.
Right.
Just let him go at it for the first minute. After that, just do whatever you want to him." And that's basically what Floyd did. He let Conor punch himself out.
Yeah.
I think Floyd could have ended that fight in the second or third round. But the fact is, it was a spectacle. It was a show. Everybody watched it. They made millions of dollars. Conor's a flipping genius. It's that simple. He's a genius. And when it comes to MMA, he's not the best. You know, he may not be the best talented MMA fighter at his weight class, but he sure as hell makes the most money.
Yep. Yeah, you know, absolutely.
And he has talent. I mean, there's a chance for him to win every fight. He could win any fight he goes in there with. He's got a lot of talent.
Yeah.
But we all watch because he's Conor, not because he's the best fighter, and I respect that.
This is true. Absolutely. Do you have a favorite type of music or favorite band that you like to listen to?
Yeah, man. I love Pearl Jam.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I'm a Pearl Jam fan. I grew up in that era. I love grunge alternative music. I'm also from Chicago, so I love house music.
Okay.
You know, I'd like to say I like just about every kind of music except for country. I don't know why. Some people get mad at me. Maybe the new country's not as whiny as the old country music, but I can't get into it. And so you put anything on other than country, and I'm a happy man.
That's awesome. Well, I wanted to also give you an opportunity just to give a shout out to business partners, to teammates, to sponsors for your league, anything like that, man. The camera's all yours.
Well, you know, the thing I'd really like to talk about is that we're growing our team out, man. So I want to give a shout out to the guys on the team. Frankie Saenz has been around. Frank Saenz is a UFC fighter, bantamweight. He's fought everybody, you know, in that weight class. He's been around since season 1 doing play-by-play for us.
Wow.
And you know, he's always at the show. He's always talking to the fighters. They all love him. I'm like, man, Frankie, how about be my fighter relations guy? Like, everybody loves you. Everybody knows who you are. And he jumped on board. He's like, absolutely, man. I love what you're doing. I believe in this product. So he's part of our executive team. He's the fighter relations guy.
Nice.
And then a guy that you guys may have seen on Embedded, he runs an MMA podcast called Cage Side Seats. He's at all the UFC pressers. He's at ESPN radio shows all over the West Coast. Jim Grieshaber is our second play-by-play team member. He's now the director of creative content for the Elite Amateur Fight League. So he's jumped on just recently as well. We've got Ryan Quinn down at American Top Team, who submitted the team last year and really liked what we were doing and loves the concept. And he knows every coach and every fighter from traveling with these American Top Team guys. And he's like, man, why don't you have any East Coast teams? I know everybody up and down the Eastern Seaboard. I'm like, I'd love to, but I don't know anybody over there. He's like, I know everybody. Now he's the director of league expansion.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, you know, he's part of it. And then, you know, just everybody who's invested, anybody who's got online at WeFunder is become part of our ownership team, believes in what we're doing. Thank you, because you're really going to help us move this needle forward. Our goal, and I don't think we've said this yet, but if you look at MMA, the most talented guys are absolutely at the top of the rankings, but they're not always the guys that make the most money.
Yeah.
Right. So, and for me, it's because the sport really isn't fully developed. I look at a guy like CM Punk, who probably didn't deserve the shot in the UFC, but he came in with value. He had value behind his name. They gave him a shot. He brought fan base to the UFC, and that's why he had value. Our goal is to create that kind of value behind talented fighters, right? If we can bring the best amateur fighters into our league, give them exposure on television, give them the experience of fighting top-level competitors so that they have value when they go to the pro ranks and go to the UFC, go to Bellator, go to Combate, wherever it is that they go, they're going to have value. People are going to follow them. People are going to know who they are. And that's really, if we can do that, everything else will take care of itself. Guys will want to come fight for us. Our pros will be well known. The best pro fighters will have the best fan bases. And we're going to start seeing those matchups at the top that we want to see, talent versus talent, because these guys have value in a fan base. And I think we all want to see that if we're MMA fans.
Yep, absolutely. Man, I'm so excited to see where this league goes and continuing to see it build and see those people continue to invest in it, man. And for sure, such an honor to have you on my show, Jesse. Really, really thankful for you taking time today, man. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate it. And hey, get on WeFunder, man. Become part of our ownership group, brother.
Absolutely, man.
What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for watching this video today. I really appreciate it. If you could go and share this everywhere you can, leave us a review, leave us a rating. We would really appreciate it. That helps us get the word spread out about our podcast and about our show, and we can bring you amazing stories of the people that we bring on for the Bearded Biz and the Top Rated MMA Show. Thank you again. Have an awesome day.